My parents told the entire family my unemployed sister was the one supporting them, while I then sent $180,000 over 10 years. So I stopped the payments and watched their lie collapse. For 10 years, I have been sending my parents $1,500 every single month. That's $18,000 a year, $180,000 over a decade. I started when I was 24 years old and got my first real job after college. My parents were struggling. Dad had back problems and couldn't work. Mom was doing part-time cleaning jobs that barely covered groceries. My younger sister B had just dropped out of community college and moved back home with no plans to do anything with her life. I was the only one who made it out. I was the only one with a degree and a steady paycheck. So I sent money every single month without fail. I set up automatic transfers so my parents would never have to worry. I paid their rent when they couldn't make it. I covered the electricity bill when it got shut off twice. I bought Dad his medications when insurance wouldn't. I paid for Mom's dental work when she needed 3 teeth pulled. I sent extra at Christmas so they could have a nice holiday. I never told anyone because I didn't want recognition. I just wanted my family to be okay. I live 6 hours away, so I only visit twice a year. Last month I drove down for my cousin's graduation party. The whole extended family was there. Aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years. I was standing by the drink table when I overheard my Aunt Gladys talking to my mom. She was going on about how proud she was of B. That girl is such a saint, Gladys said. Supporting you and Ray all these years while working so hard to get back on her feet. I almost choked on my drink. My mom nodded along. We don't know what we would do without B. She's the only one of our kids who really stepped up. I turned around and saw B across the yard accepting a hug from another aunt. Everyone was treating her like some kind of hero. I walked over to where my mom was standing. Gladys had moved on to get food. What was that about? I asked. What was what about? You just told Gladys that B supports you. Mom shrugged. Well, she does. She lives with us and helps around the house. She helps around the house. I send you $1,500 every month. I've been doing it for 10 years. Mom looked uncomfortable. She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Keep your voice down. I asked her why she was telling people B was the one supporting them when B hasn't had a job in 6 years. Mom got defensive. B does a lot for us. She drives your father to his appointments. She picks up groceries. She's here every day while you're off living your fancy life in the city. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I pay for those groceries. I pay for the car insurance on the car she drives. I pay for the gas money. I pay for everything and you're giving B the credit. Mom crossed her arms. Money isn't everything. B gives us her time. That's worth more than a check in the mail. I looked across the yard at B. She was laughing with our cousins, showing off a new purse that I guarantee my parents bought her with my money. She caught me looking and waved. I didn't wave back. I spent the rest of the party asking questions. I talked to my aunts and uncles and cousins one by one. Every single one of them believed that B was the family hero. They thought she had been sacrificing her own life to take care of our aging parents. They thought I was the selfish daughter who moved away and never looked back. One of my uncles actually pulled me aside and told me I should be more grateful to my sister. She's holding your family together, he said. You could learn something from her. I drove home that night and canceled the automatic transfer. For 10 years, I had been invisible. For 10 years, my money had been keeping that household afloat while my sister took all the credit and I took all the blame. I was done. The first month, nothing happened. My parents probably had some savings built up from the extra I had sent over the years. The second month, my mom called asking if something was wrong with my bank account because the transfer didn't come through. I told her there was no problem. I just stopped sending it. She laughed nervously. What do you mean you stopped? I mean I stopped. You told the whole family that B supports you, so let B support you. Mom's voice changed. You can't be serious. We need that money. Your father's medications alone cost $400 a month. I know. I've been paying for them for a decade. Now B can pay for them since she's the one who stepped up. Mom started crying. She said I was being cruel. She said I was punishing them for nothing. She said they would lose the apartment. I told her that wasn't my problem anymore. 3 weeks later, my dad called. Dad's voice sounded different from Mom's crying, calmer and more tired, and he asked if we could talk without fighting and said they needed help with his medications. And I told him I'd been helping for 10 years while B got all the credit, and now B could figure out how to actually help instead of just driving him to appointments in a car I paid to insure. And there was a long pause before he cleared his throat and said he knew Mom had been telling people B supported them, and I felt my grip tighten because he knew and let it happen. And when I asked how he could let Mom lie to everyone, he said he didn't think it was a big deal because I never seemed to care about getting credit, and he was right that I never asked for recognition, but I never expected them to actively give someone else the praise for my sacrifice. And I told him there was a difference between being humble and being erased, and I was done being invisible. 2 days later, B called yelling that I was punishing Mom and Dad for something that wasn't their fault, and everyone naturally assumed she helped because she was there every day while I was 6 hours away. And when she stopped to breathe, I asked how much money she'd contributed in the past 6 years, and the line went quiet, and she said she contributed in other ways and listed cooking, cleaning, driving Dad to appointments, picking up groceries, organizing medications, and I did the math out loud. If she lived anywhere else, she'd pay at least $800 for rent plus utilities plus food, so she was getting a free ride worth $1,250 monthly while I sent $1,500, living off my money while taking credit. Then the family calls started. Stanley said I was cruel, and family should stick together, and when I asked if he knew I'd been sending money for 10 years, he got quiet and said no, and I told him to ask Mom exactly how much and for how long, and Rosie called with the same words about forgiveness, admitting she didn't know the details, and 2 other aunts followed the same pattern of telling me to forgive, then getting uncomfortable when I asked what they actually knew. Then Dean called admitting the family had been unfair, and suggesting I talk to my parents about telling the truth, then resume some support, the first conversation that didn't feel like an attack. 3 months passed without sending money or calling, then Mom emailed photos of bills, an eviction notice with red stamps, past due medical bills, a utility shut-off warning, and something about the eviction notice looked too clean, so I right-clicked the image and searched online and found the exact same notice on a legal advice website because it was a stock photo, a fake. I called mom and told her I knew, and she started crying harder than I'd ever heard, saying she panicked and thought if I saw how bad things were, I'd have to help. And I told her lying to manipulate me was exactly why I couldn't trust them, and dad came on sounding scared, saying the medical bills and utility shut-off were real, but mom panicked about the eviction, and I asked why B couldn't get a job, and he said she'd been applying, and I told him B needed to take any job within 2 weeks, and I needed proof before I'd consider helping again. 10 days later, mom emailed a photo of B standing in front of a grocery store wearing a green vest and name tag, looking tired and unhappy, working as a cashier, making $11 an hour for 30 hours a week, about $1,300 monthly after taxes. I created a spreadsheet listing every expense: rent $900, dad's medications $400, utilities $200, groceries $300, car insurance $150, totaling around $2,000 monthly, and B's income would cover groceries and utilities but leave a gap of about $700. I set up a video call with all three of them that evening and shared the spreadsheet going through each line, then told them my decision. I would send $500 monthly only for dad's medications paid directly to the pharmacy so I could verify, but with one non-negotiable condition: they had to publicly tell the family the truth about who supported them for 10 years. B said telling everyone would make her look terrible, and I told her she should have thought about that before taking credit for my sacrifice, and mom suggested letting it fade naturally, and I said no, tell the truth publicly or get nothing, and dad finally said they would do it. 3 days later, I woke to 17 notifications. Mom had posted a long detailed message thanking me by name for 10 years of financial support, saying I'd been sending significant money every month, and she should have acknowledged it sooner, making clear the financial support came from me while B helped physically. My phone started buzzing. Aunt Gladys called embarrassed, saying she had no idea and felt terrible for praising only B at the graduation party. Stanley texted saying he was wrong to lecture me. Rosie left a voicemail saying the whole family owed me an apology, and the validation felt good, but I was exhausted from fighting this hard for basic recognition. That night, B texted admitting she'd gotten too comfortable taking credit she didn't earn, saying the grocery store was a wake-up call because standing at a register for 6 hours scanning items made her understand what real work felt like, and she was sorry for letting everyone think she held the family together. Not a perfect apology, but it felt genuine. I set up the $500 payment directly to the pharmacy and called dad, who thanked me multiple times and said he was proud of me for standing up for myself, and we talked for almost an hour about normal things like adults, instead of him seeing me as the kid who should help without question. 4 months after the graduation party, I made the 6-hour drive home, and mom hugged me tight and dad's face lit up, and the apartment was clean but different, more cramped and budget conscious with fewer decorations and worn furniture, and mom showed me grocery ads she'd been collecting and explained her meal planning and discount shopping, and how she'd negotiated a rent reduction by agreeing to do maintenance around the building, and dad said they'd cut cable, and mom admitted losing my full support forced changes they should have made years ago because they'd gotten lazy knowing my money was always there. At a small diner that night, dad apologized for taking my help for granted, and mom said she was wrong to let B take credit without trying to excuse it, and we talked honestly for over an hour about money and expectations, like adults having a real conversation for the first time. Back at the apartment, B was home from her shift looking tired and told me she'd picked up extra shifts and got promoted to customer service for $1 more per hour, and said earning her own money made her realize how much I'd been sending all those years, because working 40 hours barely covered groceries and utilities, and the anger between us was gone. 2 months later, at my aunt's birthday gathering, relatives came up throughout the afternoon with quiet recognition. Aunt Gladys hugged me and thanked me. My uncle apologized for lecturing me about being grateful to B, not dramatic speeches, but people who finally knew the truth, and B and I were cordial with a realistic understanding of who we each were, and I kept sending $500 monthly to the pharmacy and visited more often, and my parents learned to live within their budget, and I learned I didn't have to be invisible to be generous, and our family was more honest now, even if less comfortable. Not perfect, but real, and that was better than the lie we'd all been living before.